Hey guys, this is Red Silvers, and welcome back to Let's Play Mega Man 3, the Talking Time Challenge LP. Last time I ended up with a four-way tie on who should go first, and the choices were between Sparkman, Hardman, Gemini Man, and then Shadow Man. And so what I did is I took these 4 votes and I threw them into a random number generator and came back with Sparkman. So he is going to be the first one that we take down. What's odd about Mega Man 3 is that the Robot Master Select screen music is different from what you expect from the series. Sparkman's music is pretty awesome though. Pretty rockin' tune. You do get quite a bit of slowdown in this stage though, and part of it is because of these things that shoot electricity that you have to jump through, and the other is these spark plug guys that are coming out of the chutes that I don't actually want to have a time to fire, because their shot adds a ton of sprite flicker and it just slows down the stage a little bit. Here we have our first Hammer Joe, and he's pretty not that difficult as far as blocking your way. He just absorbs a few hits. Now, what's probably going to be the bane of this run are these platforms here, and not even right now. They're pretty basic, but the Mega Man games in general are very good about teaching you the basics before you have to go. This is another really tricky part of platforming, just timing these jumps just right without taking any damage. And that just speeds things up here because I can fill up on health right there by using my rush coil, but since I don't need any health or any weapon energy, I can just go ahead and bypass that. The actual enemies in this stage are not that difficult though. And I'm sure someone's going to think about Brickroad's comments about this shaft, so I'm just going to keep quiet there. These blocks, I always used to try and shoot my way through them, and it's easier if you just let the first one drop and run through in your small window of opportunity. But if you mess that up, then it is painful. Now coming up here is where the most trouble is going to be in this run, and that's because they add in these enemies over these same pits. And if you're really careful, you can time it just right so you don't have to deal with them. But as you can see, that's not what I did right there. And once you get past those guys, the level's done. But that is some difficult platforming. That is easily a part of the game where the rush jet or even the magnet missiles or something that could take out those enemies pay off. And part of the trouble is that you see them coming in, but you can't hit them until they finish forming. And it tends to mess with you, because they can still hurt you. Okay. You know, I thought about cutting my horrible failure out of this, but maybe it'd just be more entertaining to watch me struggle through these jumps. This is easily where I would dig out the rush jet and just skip it, because this is some hard platforming right here. And that jump just sucks. But what the hey? I kept all my failures in Castlevania on screen, and it made for entertaining commentary. Sparkman's stage, as I mentioned, I think in the Mega Man race, which actually I guess hasn't aired yet, but this is actually one of the first songs that I downloaded on Napster, was a copy of the Sparkman music. And getting distracted. Normally you can just kind of blitz through that hallway once you get your timing down, but when you get distracted, it's hard to keep stuff like that down. Now, oddly enough, starting with the 9 E-Tanks password is not really going to make this level any easier, because The E-tanks don't make the jumps on these platforms any less dangerous. You know, if it was something like these platforms here were killing me, and that's what I was dying to, well then the case could be made that the E-tanks would trivialize it. But since that's not really where the trouble is for me in this stage, it makes this a really good stage to start out with, because I'm not bypassing any of the inherent difficulty of the stage. What the hey, we'll show off this rush coil jump and get that sliver of energy. Even though, again, I'm not losing all of my health and dying, it's that missing that stupid jump. And of course, I'm sure that there are Robot Master weapons that would make this section a lot easier too, although I don't know that anything can hit those enemies, those screws, while they're beaming in. But again, they give you a fair way to learn how to use those platforms before they just throw you into the hard part. They do have that part at the beginning of the stage. And they give you enough of a warning with this guy. Hey, someone's about to pop in here and better watch out. Ideally, what you need to do is just kind of make these jumps. Just floor and go. And stopping for the enemies is what throws off your timing. But knowing that you need to do that and actually pulling it off is tricky. And we haven't even gotten to the boss yet. And that's where... Okay, the E-tanks may trivialize that. Oh. Of course, the E-tanks aren't going to matter if I get to the boss and I don't have any lives. I suppose I have enough E-tanks that I can throw away one just to regenerate, but... I do want to try to take down Sparkman without having to use an E-tank, because it's doable. His pattern is simple in practice. It does have a little bit of a random element, just enough to... Oh my god. His pattern does have just enough of a random element to it that you're not going to just go in there and do it perfect. But he cycles through, he does 2 attacks. One where he throws 8 sparks around him in the 8 cardinal directions, and then immediately he follows that up with a big spark that he throws where you're standing. And actually these spark plug guys do the same shot. There you go, there's a good example of that shot, so you can see what I'm talking about. And he follows that up immediately with the big one that goes where you're standing. So the trick is to avoid the small sparks and then dodge the big one, all while firing at him. And once he does that, then he jumps around the room. His room is kind of similarly shaped to this room right here, with the different heights. And there's 4 positions that he can jump to. So after he goes through firing, he'll jump up to 4 times. And at some point after a jump, he'll start his attack pattern again. So it's very simple in practice. There's that little bit of a random element to make it not completely easy, but overall it's doable. And of course, it's a Mega Man boss. You can do it without taking any damage. What the hey, we'll fill up on health again. Because that sliver of health is going to make all the difference when I fall down a pit. I would be remiss not to mention that this is the first game that had Rush. Although I can't imagine anybody watching this video that has no idea of what Mega Man 3 is. But there you go. I suppose I shouldn't say that because people that never played Castlevania watch the Castlevania videos. So I guess you can't assume that everybody knows everything about the games. But yes, this is the first game to have Rush, which means it's also the game that has the broken Rush jet that they later went on to neuter in every other game in the series. And boy, does it make this section right here nothing more than an afterthought. But there. That's how you get through those platforms. Now, of course, normally I'd be going into this with a weapon. Usually the Shadow Blade is the one that you want to use, although he does have a secondary weakness. And I actually think... Ooh, this is going to be a little close. But yeah, I think those big shots are the hardest to dodge when he's right close next to you like this. But he does graciously give you enough space to avoid getting jumped on when you get to these ends where you have to go around him instead of just trading blows with him. Because he's close enough that he could just jump on you and you'd be in big trouble. There you go. Stay over there. That's a good spot for you. And get in some shots. And there we go. I could have used an E-tank there. I decided not to just persevere. And it paid off. Sparkman is down and we get the spark shot. And thanks to my friend Narishim on Talking Time, I will never be able to hear the Mega Man 3 You Got a Weapon music and not think of his videos, because he's shoehorned it in as his theme song in all of his videos. And it's a good theme, but anyway, that is Sparkman down. We'll go ahead and write down our password. As you can see, we got a red dot in the F4 position, added to our A6 dot that's still there because we didn't use any energy tanks. And that leads us back to the stage select screen, where we now have 7 Robot Masters. So, once again, I'm going to pick up voting here. Which of these 7 Robot Masters will we go after? We can't go after Sparkman's stage anymore. You can't even go back there, so there's no reason to. Later games in this series will let you go back. But for now, there's only 7 choices. So which one will it be? Till then, this is Red Silvers, and you have a good night.